I don't read interviews. I don't, I try to stay out of limelight. So try to stay away from stuff. Not quite sure why it's that way, but every time you get an award, it does something to your psyche or something. I don't know what it does. I know it's supposed to be good. I mean, it's supposed to be good. Everything about it says it's good. So why do I feel like shit when I go receive an award? It takes away time from my daughters, takes away time from my sons, takes away time from my wife. Today, my greatest political act, as I was telling this gentleman here, my anti-Trump act of the day was to plant 6 trees and dig a trench and bury a lawn sprinkler all the way down the trench. Cover the trench up real nice. Go to the gym for sweat, because I did 21 miles the day before on my bike, and then I did 4 miles running the day before that, and then the day before that I love gardening and I love working outside with wood and dirt and on my knees and stuff. Those are all political statements, right, against Trump. And but as you might guess, Trump showed up. The reason I buried the sprinkler line was because one of the dogs, a big Italian Mastiff dog, pulled it up after we had put a new line in, right? So I went over there and I tried to hit this guy with a rock as many times as I could, and to show you how age tells, when like the thing you're trying to hit with a rock is the size of a dump truck, and you throw 7 rocks and only hit him once. Right? But I kept yelling at him, right? Besides throwing a rock at your dog, the best thing is yelling. So I yelled, "Bad, you bad!" I was trying to mimic the authority figures in my childhood. Bad! Right? I go to the gym, right? And after I showed this idiot, look, I'm patting the line down, don't touch, and he had these big eyes. He's like, I get it, dude. I come back. The line is yanked up. And I looked at this vato and I said, "Pinche Trump, jodido." So anyway, so there you have it. I whatever. Okay, listen, guys. This is a book about a woman. The fiasco we have with the children's concentration camps in the South. All the children being put in concentration, and about a woman who gets her baby taken away, and all of that stuff. This book here, by the way, it was a New York Times Editor's Choice book, which is very cool, right? Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, I love that. It's cool. It's cool to see that happen when you open it up, and all of a sudden the New York editors choose your book as the choice for that, and it's very cool when that stuff happens, and it shows up in London newspapers, and it's all like, yeah, right. But you can't give it a lot of play. It's more important whether the dishes are washed and whether your wife is in a good mood. The New York Times Editor's Choice is great. I love it. But you can't let it go there, You've got to get it back to Chicano land, which means, are the sprinklers going to come on Monday morning? And I got these vatos coming over from Tajique and Willard, and, they're going to come over, my new lawn crew. And I'm a little bit worried about it because when they showed up, the battery died and I had to give them a charge, right? Then they said they were going to show up this morning and no one showed up. So I'm like, okay, Santiago, how much faith do you have? Right? So I said, I have enough faith to wait till Monday. I know. Anyway, so this book is about that. I'll go ahead and read it, okay? It's Random House / Beacon. Beacon in Boston via Penguin and Random House. I got it, right?
This one is
It's a little louder.
Oh yeah. Is there a way that I could just hold it like this, like I'm trying to hold myself from peeing? I did that a lot as a kid and still peed. Kids, when I was in the orphanage, when I was in the orphanage, you would get you would get brownie points with the nuns if you busted people, right? Doing stuff, right? So every time a kid got my row in the dormitories, I was like 5 years old. One of the kids would come and he'd give me like a candy bar, or some marbles, or some firecrackers, because he was gonna get some brownie points, because he knew that I peed my bed that night, because I always peed, right? And he was like, "Oh, he peed his bed." It was so funny. I thought, shit, I'm too lazy to get out of bed. Not a problem. I just don't want to get out of bed in the middle of winter with no heat, you know? So, you know, next best thing, here it is, guys. In San Salvador, Tonal, my marido, works night shift knitting clothing for export. Gangs tax the workers half their check, but Tonal refuses to pay. We have a 4-year-old Joaquin, but they don't care. On Tonal's way home last night at 4:30 in bed, when I hear angry voices outside, "You pay or die." Wheels screech, door slams, Tonal's voice begs for mercy. Then shouts, "Boom, boom!" And the car squeals off, leaving Tonal's jagged voice, "Sofia, Sofia, ayúdame, ayúdame, Sofia." And I rush from the bedroom, draw my yarn blanket and slippers on. Llama and sheep wool Tonal made for me on our 5th anniversary. I dash into the night across the street, collapsed next to Tonal, kneeling under the streetlight in the neighbor's stone dirt driveway. I cradle Tonal's body on my lap. Mi amor, I weep as blood pools in the dirt, and I tug at his arm. Mi amor, no te mueres, no te mueres. And he groans. "Corre para el norte, mi reina. Para el norte con mi hijito, por favor. Vete, mi amor, corre o te van a matar." And I scream, "Stay awake, stay awake." But blood surfs from his thighs, ladles out from kneecaps that look like potato peelings on the cutting board. And the stones in the dirt witness, and the stones ask, and the stones take, and the stones tell. "Lay on us," they whisper. "We will absorb your sadness." Tonal died. Me and my baby Joaquin go north. Pal norte, as he wanted, to escape the wrath of the gangs. And at every port and border we encounter vigilantes, uniformed official administrators, and unruly mobs, shouting the same refrain, "Go back to your country." And from American language radios at the Mercado and from windows and talk show celebrities label us rebellious outlaws, criminals, and drug dealers, answering our misery with four-walled thinking. And the experts claim not to know our oppression, how we are tortured and murdered and turned away at every door, instead of the real people that we are, hungry and hard-working and kind, dreaming of an education, and their ideas replace us with stereotypes that suit their selfish needs. We did nothing wrong. And the shooting has taken the center out of me, leaves cartridges of shotgun shells where my heart used to be, in the center of me smoldering how Tonal was just on his way home from work. Paper lunch sack clutched in his hand, San Martin de Porras medal around his neck, and a turquoise silver wedding band his tío Tomás, a Huichol silversmith, made for us, a heart tattoo with our names in it on his chest. Joaquin, siempre mi amor, on his left forearm. And so I pack what I can carry and I flee north, al norte. Joaquin strapped to my back. 4 times I jump trains as they are moving. 4 times I am gang raped by predators and the policía. And as each man mounts me, a voice in me speaks, "Will you tell them, Sofia, that hell is not a dream? And that you've been there? Will you tell them, Sofia?" And I whisper, I will. And in El Paso, Texas, I plead for asylum, and they bus me to the Otero County Processing Center, Immigration Detention Center in Otero County, Nuevo Mexico. And ICE authorities take my baby Joaquin, and I'm placed in a cell. And 2 ICE officials rape me that night. Their glossy badges and their pistols and leather belts shimmering under the fluorescent ceiling lights, their sweat sprinkling my cheeks and forehead. Their veins pulse at their necks as reddened faces swollen and eyes glazed angry sparkle with madness. The Cibola County Correctional Center, run by Core Civic in Otero County, is a machine that turns its cruel amusement wheels, manufacturing packaged lies that I am a worthless villain. And then I'm raped by an ICE officer again. And he grunts and squeals like a pig. And the stones in the dirt witness, and the stones ask, and the stones take, and the stones tell. Lay on us. We will absorb your sadness, Sophia. And I close my eyes, vowing never to become a prison company whore for favors, cokes, chips, and cigarettes. I close my eyes and I see Tonal hovering in the air around me. She's bleeding. I hear an ICE officer's voice say to his partner on top of me, who replies, "What you gonna do, call 911? He laughs. Let the bitch die. The more that do, the better off we are. And as they're raping me, I can see Tonal and Joaquin's bright eyes above them, growing and with blinding sunshine over me, burning away their smell and their touch and their laughter, burning away the gunshots that killed Tonal, that still shudder my dreams with snarls and scare me, burning away the gangs and the clubs and the bombs and the body parts strewn in the streets, the paramilitary death squads that scare me, burning it all away. Patriotism's blood hunger that devours and maims in silence in Salvador's children. A democracy that stalks us and roams the dark land of our sorrow, smothered in flames and blood of our loved ones. And the stones in the dirt witness this. And the stones ask, and the stones take, and the stones tell Sofia, lay on us. We will absorb your sadness. And Tonal and Joaquin's eyes, oh, they shine like the sun. As if to say, Mama, healing is the word for challenge. Is another word, Mama, to dream what is possible. They convey their eyes, looking into my brown house, all of us who journeyed and documented from cosmic sunlit regions of the universe into now earthlings with hands and mouths and lips and breasts and ears and toes, like all of us. Once a child filled with questions, Mama, ¿qué es eso? What is that? His first sensual exploration into the world sparked light in his little heart, brimmed seeds of his origin-ness. What is that, Mama? And I said, un chile verde. Y allá, in the bell tower, I say, a pigeon, mijito. And dirt between fingers, I say, la Sagrada Tierra Madre. And that, feeling my lips on his cheek, I say, es un besito, mijito, it's a kiss. And when he kisses me, I ask, ooh, what is that? And he says, it's love, Mama. And now that they have Joaquin caged, and I listen to the rumors from other women, they sell the children to sex traffickers. They use them for forced child labor. They sell them to wealthy white people. In San Salvador, the night of the shooting, I pleaded with la policía, por favor, at least call the ambulance. Pero respondió, ¿pa qué gastar tiempo y feria son animales? And that morning, September lawns and bare trees studied the crime scene to understand what imbues the dawn with such sorrow, darkening it with the feeling that it is harder to have hope, that the violence will never end. Pues me voy al norte. Joaquin beside me, we walk for weeks through the foothills, where my heart flares its nostrils, quivering and puffing as cacti and 100-year-old cedars root in the desert crevices, counsel me in patience, and I remember the stones in the dirt witness. The stones ask, the stones take, and the stones tell. Lay on us, Sophia, we will absorb your sadness. I have an overwhelming need to sit on a boulder and weep for my marido, for me, for my hijito Joaquin. So many children in San Salvador line the cemetery rows. There's so many funerals daily. I held my marido's head in my lap and I breathed on his face. It was going to be okay.
My face under the streetlight smooth as the jade plant, my voice like wind chimes declaring, I love you forever. And then Donal came to me again last night in fragments of a dream. Our life together once. Me in the garden planting chili peppers, him cutting and nailing boards for the herbs. Joaquin jumping on the trampoline, illuminated red hot in my dream like jagged asteroids that flew through space in my sleep, like warm tortillas that nourish my heart. And then I dream of Joaquin, bits and pieces of a dream. I'm in the woods and I'm at the sea, I'm on top of a mountain, opening my arms to embrace all of them with the growl of a jaguar woman. And they fly toward me from outer space as if I'm the center, their destination, their homeland, shattered, now returned, they to create a new life for them. And at night, while the women in the dorm crowd around the radio to hear the news of their disappeared children, they surf stations with hosts accusing refugees of carrying disease and infections, of being terrorists and drug addicts. Young ones, 14, 15, 16 years old, drugged by the doctors here, and counselors working for ICE, are taken out to drink and party and return at dawn with new shoes and blouses and bracelets. At the prison fence, this morning I stand and I feed a roadrunner, the only desert bird who taunts the rattler. Luring it forth, expands its umbrella wings, idling inches from it. When the snake lunges at it, the roadrunner fakes in, skips back from the fangs, hops clear until it snatches the snake in its beak and smashes its head against a stone and swallows it whole. The sleek shield of feathers, the black spots and the white edgings, swoop in a single blink of an eye on brick walls, over the bushes, across the patrol path, fast and agile as a supersized hummingbird. I toss cooking pot scraps at dinner greens on the grass, and he eats like any tame yard dog. I pray for the roadrunner to check on my 4-year-old Joaquin, now classified a criminal by the United States. Guard him, por favor, against the snakes. And I tell the stones, he was a preschool child once, racketing hallways and clacking his skates in his cubby, hanging his rain slicker on a wooden peg and stamping in rain puddles with his galoshes. He grew wings at recess, and when the bell rang, he scudded back his desk, anxious to fly over the playground and perch on the merry-go-round like a quetzal bird in the forest. And his heart's door hinges grimaced with the coming and going of so much happiness to him, as he raced others to hopscotch under the shed, or soccer on the courts, or dangling on the monkey bars, yelping down the dented slide. And at the fence on another morning, I'm startled and I shriek. And the other women rush out of the dorm thinking the worst, that I broke a bone or I got shot trying to escape. But instead, what happened? A hawk landed on the fence bar and studied me for minutes. A moment with no beginning or end. An infinite meeting of two travelers in the hawk's eyes, all it had seen. The desert, the forest, the seas, the fields, the cliffs. And because I was a child who had lived in the rainforest, bathed myself in mud pits used by the Huichol ancestors, plastering mud on my body, the hawk knew me, as it knows a tree or the air beneath its wings, and gave me in that moment all the lands it had soared over, leaving me a feather that had brushed against the sun. And it goes on and on and on and on.
There's so many more, I could read forever. But that won't happen. I sense some of you, I'm keeping you awake. Listen, I encourage you, we have 2 book stations out there. One of them is for the Miss Shannon, who was kind enough to invite us to read and gave us this incredible venue tonight. And so please She has books for sale that she has. Buy some. And then next to her is another table with books she doesn't have. I brought some titles that I knew she wouldn't be able to get. And the monies from that book table go to buy books for kids who can't get books. We have a book program where we go around giving books to kids all over the country. Mostly we focus on Chicanos and Indios. We drive up with our bookmobile and we yell and we scream, tacos y tamales, no tienen que pagar nada. Right? And our bookmobile's lowriders got hydraulics. It's about $75,000, man. I mean, really, it's a chicosote ride, you know? But we outfitted it like a lowrider, you know? So when we show up, everybody's like, mira esos pendejos allá afuera. And then we announce, free tamales. They all run out, and then we give them a book with every taco. We've had it 3 years now, but anyway. And we get a lot of books. Everybody gives us books they don't want, and we immediately take those books and give them out. So we have great. I forgot what I was going to say, but I have somebody I want to invite up here just to answer a few Q&As, if you don't mind. Jeff, could you come on up for a second, please? Jeff just did 17 years in a federal prison. And he's come out and he's established this business and he's getting it together and stuff. And we used to live next to each other. So I'm just kind of curious because he's fresh from 17 years giving his life for something he didn't do. But that's neither here nor there. Go ahead and sit down, come in. And then, you know, if you have any questions, address them on prison, since you did just see the thing. Address them to Jeff or me. But we'll spend 5-10 minutes and call it a night, okay? Thanks very much. Go ahead. Who's first? And the space is small enough you don't really need a speaker, one of these. So go ahead. Anybody have any questions on, I mean, you must on prison, recidivism, and prison reform, and everything.
Hello everybody.
Go ahead,
My name is Jeff Padilla. I got arrested back in 1999. I was pretty wild at the time. I chose to throw my life away. And because of it, I'm still going through it to this day, you know. I changed my life while incarcerated, and as Mr. Baca said, that I was innocent. I would call it, sometimes you're guilty because you were wild, and sometimes you have to go pay for things because you're not here. Sometimes I believe God didn't put me here to point at the next man. So sometimes you have to go to prison because you're not here to cast the blame on the next man, you know. So, and I wasn't innocent because I was doing bad things in other ways. So I paid my debt to society, and now I'm out. I've been out 2 years, and God blessed me by doing a documentary about my life. It's called After Orange, and one of the best things that came about is it got the attention of Mr. Al Roker, the newsman, the weatherman, and he's executive producer on it. Yeah, so I thank God for giving me a second chance at my freedom, and I don't take it for granted, first of all. What I spend my life doing is, God blessed me with a good woman, of course. She don't like me to say this, but I'm gonna say it. She works for APS. She's a principal of a middle school. So I always told God, if you give me a woman that's up in standard, you know, I'll try to catch up and keep up, you know, and be a good person. And God's helping me elevate my life. I'm in the hemp industry, and while I was incarcerated, Mr. Juan Gambino was there for me. He went to visit me and told me, if you're gonna be the same man you used to be, as you met him, he's an artist, one of the biggest artists in the state right now. And he said, if you're gonna be the man you used to be, and I told him, well, I'm here to shake your hand and tell you the same thing. So today, we're blessed to be partners in in a big project that's going to be shown all over the world. Netflix is, we're going to go to Netflix, and we'll be all hitting all the film festivals coming real soon. Thank you guys, that's my story.
I want to just say, to add to his thing, we're probably never going to be together again, so this is a really special night that here you have somebody who just did 17 years, and they're doing a big documentary on his. I love the title, After Orange. Beautiful title, man. Wow. And then me, doing this thing. I appear less and less. I mean, I go do things and stuff like that, but it's very rare that I get to be with somebody who did time. I did 26 years altogether, which is a lot of years, right? Yeah. It's screwed up, right? So when I came out, I couldn't even hardly speak to anybody. I didn't know how to speak. It's hard for me to speak, Didn't know how to walk in a room and ask somebody for a job. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I would stand outside the office for an hour trying to figure out, how do I ask this about for a job, I don't know how to ask this guy. It's crazy what institutionalization does to you. It jacked me up so bad. Oh God, I just can't tell you how bad it was for me. It was very bad. But suffice to say that 33 books later in 30-some languages, 2 more movies coming out, blah, 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 blah. And I got beautiful people like you in this room right now. Now, I want your goddamn wallets on the corner. I'm just kidding. No, no matter how much I'm civilized, I got this whole part of my brain here that is like Pope the 7th, if there's such a one, I don't know. Or Buddha, right? Or Krishna, or whatever, right? But I do still have this part right over here that's got a little tiny criminal voice that still exists. Jimmy. And they didn't get their credit card numbers. No. That's a joke, all right? I'm working off of this stupid stereotypical bullshit they put on TV, right? I mean, you guys believe it. I see you guys going like, as soon as you see somebody in the corner, like, oh, yeah, come on, honey, we're going to walk over here. You got to watch this out there. He just came out. That little voice on me is that big in him. He's got a galloping horse up there going, oh, it's freedom. So, mira, what I was going to say, and then you can ask Jeffrey all the questions you want. That book next to the Bain bookstore that Shannon is selling, which is Support the Theater, which I believe in Independent Theaters. That little kid, the monies from that book table go to the bookmobile. That's where I lost my train of thinking, right? The bookmobile is where we get our books and take off, but that book there pays for the gas and the insurance. We have a lot of insurance. Kids from everywhere, right? Okay, so ask Jeff any question you would like. Me, all you gotta do is read one of my books to know the answer. Okay, anybody have questions? Yes?
So are there programs of people coming into the prisons now, and are they working, like help, that would help people get involved in writing poetry and reading literature in your time that you were there?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, I think I heard it. You're saying that if there's any programs to offer jobs or even to things that you're for poetry or music.
In the prisons, people coming in now, when you were there,
Yes.
did you have any classes that helped you learn about literature? Is that gotten better from the time Jimmy was in?
Yeah, well, as for writing and telling your story, I never really seen that offered in prison. That's very rare. So there is a lot of stuff offered in prison for change. If somebody wants to change, you look for it and you find it. I thank God that I took like 14 courses to better my life. I took NA, AA, a bunch of self-help groups, everything to teach you so you don't have to come out. And so the tools are in prison for anything you want, but you got to look for them and you have to take it serious. Yeah, they're there.
Hey, I wanted to mention one thing real quick. You guys, the convicts, the ex-cons outnumber the free people in this room tonight. You know that. So I want to introduce Eric. Look at Eric Martinez. Stand up, Eric. He came out. He did 10 years in the feds, and he came out a great painter. And so Santa Fe is known as the second art market, the best art market in the world. Eric's got some paintings that I asked him to bring tonight so you can see them, and they're phenomenal paintings, and they've been commissioned by museums all over the country. In fact, I think somebody bought some here, right, Eric? Or the Albuquerque Museum? But didn't the Albuquerque Museum buy one from you?
The museum does have one in their permanent collection.
Yeah, there you go. So they buy his work and stuff, his paintings and stuff. But his work, the stuff that you saw in the documentary, the black and white sketches, they were Eric. So give Eric a big old hand. Okay, everybody? Mira, so support the book project, support his re-entry.
Yeah.
Right? When someone talks
you.
smack, stand up and give the guy some skin up. Say, you know what? People can change, you know? Yeah.
How do we eliminate the stigma that surrounds convicts when it comes to applying for jobs or reintegrating into society? Because I feel that this is something that most people think about convicts is that they are more animalistic in nature or are less human.
I don't know. You do everything in your own possible way. Like Krishna is a good friend of mine. He's invited me everywhere. He doesn't, he's not ashamed. Yeah, this guy's an ex-convict, but guess what else? He's an amazingly beautiful man. This man right here, University of Santa Barbara, Professor, I don't even know what your title, you can tell me what your title is. What's your title?
Professor of Chicano Studies and History at UC Santa Barbara.
And he invited me to Santa Barbara University, the University of California, and packed the auditorium with more than 800 to 1,200 students, I don't know how many. He gave me this massive award, right? Wasn't ashamed of me being a pinto or a convict, right? So the number one thing you gotta do, number one, never hide it. You go straight up and you tell people, ¿sabes qué? Boom, I did prison time. So if you want to leave now, the door is there, because once you leave, when I start talking, I'm going to charge you double, cabrón. So you're out of here, right? Right? So you go, right? But you never, ever, ever ashamed of your experience, because no matter what you've been through is human. So you have to be your own advocate. And people to this day, I leave on Wednesday for my tour, right? There's people waiting in the wings everywhere I go that call me stupid, dirty Mexican, wetback, you piece of shit, taking jobs away. You're a convict, get the hell off the stage, right? Happens all the time, right? But it's like, it's so beautiful to feel my grandmother on my shoulder here saying, Mijito, I'm so proud of you. And my grandpa's over here, and my grandpa's on stage with me saying, oye, instead of saying, pinche tu madre, puto. Instead of all that, right? My grandpa's like, pórtate bien. You remember that thing I used to tell you when you were a little boy? Pórtate bien, mijito. And I feel so good on stage, conducting myself like a gentleman. And there's guys in the audience that are yelling at me, go back, you dirty spick, right? They yell at me. And I stop the conversation. And I say, would you please leave? Because, cabrón, I got the stage and they're paying me big bucks. And I don't want you in this audience. And my grandma's saying, they used to do that to us, Santiago. I'm like, I know, Grandma. And I actually hear my antepasados, I hear them talking to me, right? I just tell the people in the audience, it is so good that I'm not the pit bull in the chain barking, that they are. And I ask them, leave. Please leave. And they do. And the thing that pisses them off more than anything is that they used to have the power to tell the Mexicans to leave. But not anymore. And that's so beautiful to have a Chicano on stage, to be setting the example for decency, to set the example for kindness and understanding without targeting them racistly, just telling them you've got to leave because people are here to listen. And you're yelling obscenities, just go. Right? Because we're not going to go around you anymore. We're here, and we're moving this way. And if you're in the way, you got to move. We spent 200 years going around you. We wore a lot of boot heels out that way. So my answer to your question, just the way it was in the AIDS epidemic, when people were ashamed of admitting they had AIDS until they did, and then the books came out, then the medicine came out, then the research came out, we now say, we did time, and you know what? Now they have to find a solution for this because we are not bad people. So what you're doing to good people is bad. So find a solution to prison, called prison reform. Find a solution to it, because you're hurting a lot of us. And we all happen to be a lot of people of color. Hold on.
Jeffrey, could you share a little bit about what's been done with the legislature based off of her question?
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Mr. Baca. That's right, because where it stands right now is, prison reform is happening all over the United States, and New Mexico's catching on. Right now, the governor and we came all last year and spent a year for, I belong to a group called Millions for Prisoners. And it's a group that's helping educate people on the laws and how to help people so that they don't have to be disenfranchised, you know? Because there is people that do see us as the bad people, but they should take note that people are gonna come back out, you know? So in reality, they're working on changing the laws. New Mexico right now, this is just my view, they're afraid to step up, but it's happening. The governor, there's a lot of laws that are in the legislature, and slowly they're letting them through. Because this year they could have passed a few extra laws, but you know what? Thanks to God that at least they're listening. You know, there's other states that are way ahead of us, and it's moving a lot faster for changing laws to help people adjust back into society, because we ain't animals, and there is people that have changed, you know. If somebody hasn't changed their lives, it catches up to them real fast, and they go back to suffering, because that's what prison is. Prison is suffering. Mr. Baca knows, people have been to prison. Prison is no fun, it's suffering. Yeah, we cause it to ourselves, but we leave all that behind us.
Take it out, just don't be ashamed of it anymore. That's it, just don't. Bring it out, because so many people in there are people. And they got hurt. I think one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever had is, I don't know what happened at that time I don't know why. I know that legendarily and in myth and in fairy tales, I know for a fact that the hours between 4 and 6 or 7 are the hours when all the spirits come out, because I feel that. I remember in prison when I would hold my hands on the bars like this, and I would think, and that to me was the most traumatizing, was those hours would feel like death itself. I mean, it's okay to get up in the morning and the sun's up and you feel fresh, you go to breakfast, you go to work, everything's cool, right? But the day's ending, you shower, you go back, and all of a sudden it's those hours when you got a long time to do, and you're looking at everybody, and you see the mess you're in. No one's got education. Everybody's fighting for cigarette butts and heroin spoons and all this other bullshit, right? And you look down and you see it, right? Blacks don't like Chicanos, Chicanos don't like blacks, blacks don't like whites, whites don't like us, we don't like them. It's just, and there's no reason for it. It's just the institution put those in there for it to operate. But the second you break down the separation between the races, you don't have a prison, you have a monastery. You have a university. You have, an amazing thing can happen once you get the separation, the false ones, the walls that put us between, get rid of them. And suddenly you realize that we're all brothers. And together we can do anything, right? But it's that despair that comes to you every day in prison that makes you pick up the shank and go out and stab some dude. It's that despair that comes like between the hours of 4 and 6:30, and it comes at you, and everything you've done now has the echo of hopelessness. And there's no reason to fucking want to be a human being. Every reason to want to be a pinto and spend the rest of your life in this place. Every reason to do it, because you can point out the 4 guys you want to take out. That's why I don't mind staying here anymore. It's better than this constant despair beating at me. I want to get out and create a life, but the hopelessness keeps beating at me. It's gonna break me. It was those hours that I used to hold the bars and just like Jeffrey said, I looked up and said, God, Jesus, please come to me, man. Please help me, Jesus. Help me overcome this thing, man. Because please, you gotta let me out of here, Jesus. It wasn't the guards or the warden or the legislature or the DA or anybody else. It was me talking to God. You can let me out, man. You got to, man. Because I can't handle this, good Lord, I can't. Every single human being does that in prison. They get up, they man up, they go to breakfast, you know, and the ones who break are the ones who decide, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do some desmadres today. Those are the ones that break. We call that being a man, stepping up, un vato de aquellas, not. It's those are the ones that broke. It's the ones that stand in line and carry the hopelessness in their heart with a straight face. Those are the chingones. Some of those people carry that straight face for a long time. And it's and that's what I want to attack with my work, the poetry. I want to attack the despair and the hopelessness. That's what we got to do. And I also want to bring the community of families back together, because so many of these guys that go to prison, their families, God, they suffer. The moms, the dads, the grandmas, they die every night a little bit, you know? That's what I want to take on. And it's okay, man, I'll take it on. It gives me a reason not to get in pedo, you know? I can't get in trouble because I gotta go put this family together. Okay, now, one last question, se acabó.
Can I say something to her question?
Yeah, go. She's
So,
leaving.
50 years ago, where is she? Did she
She just
leave?
walked out.
Sorry.
Man, I don't know what you did, bro. Go ahead and ask everybody else.
Okay, 50 years ago, I arrived in Santa Fe, searching, praying for the last 3 years before that to find a spiritual guide. This is 1969, and my generation was in a different kind of prison. It was being drafted and being sent to Vietnam to kill people for a totally insane thing. This was like prison to us, and I turned on, I tuned in, I dropped out. And I was in so much pain, and I was praying to find a spiritual guide, and I found it. I was guided to come here. And when I met him in Los Angeles about 6 months later, I moved there. And so we began to teach Kundalini Yoga, because Kundalini Yoga was changing our lives. That meant having a beard like this, a turban like this, long hair. We were not employable. So we had to create our own jobs. And this teacher was a master of all of that, and he inspired us to create our own businesses. We started a brass bed factory with $600. And our first year we averaged 13 cents an hour. In 5 years we were shipping and selling roughly $20 million a year in brass beds. And we were hiring a lot of people that were coming up from El Salvador and Honduras and other places who were living in LA, and we gave them good jobs and they worked side by side with us. We started other businesses. So my answer to the question of how do we come out of prison and find jobs, we have to find the solidarity among ourselves and the common everyday determination and qualification to work together, come what may, to work it out, create our own businesses. We created a security business in Espanola, New Mexico in 1978 that grew to the size of $500 million a year, and it started with about $600. So the question is, we are human beings. Infinity is inside every one of us, including all of the writing, everything that matters. And if we simply allow ourselves to express the way Jimmy discovered it in solitary confinement, we can go into our own solitary confinement and say, I'm as good as that, because we're all infinity. And then we work together with kindred spirits who have the same interests, and we start creating our own businesses. We don't have to be corporate morons.
Hey, okay, listen, everybody. I'm a convert. I used to believe that Sikhs were communist insurrectionists, and that our job was to take them out. You know, there goes one of those communists. And now I love them. I'm going to end with this. Okay, that's it. All right. Now consider all of you coming out. Consider Jeff coming out. Consider me coming out. Consider Eric coming out of prison. But in this case, it's this woman, right, where they had her in a concentration camp down south. She says she came in real meek. They took her baby. And this is what happened to her when she was in for a while. She comes out strong. The day I'm freed, when I walk through the internment camp door, I'm Gandhi. When I walk through that door, I'm Shay. In my heart, I say it louder now. When I walk through the door, I throw my worries away. I let my frustrations go. All ill will I have for others, I just let go. I brush my sleeves of the uncertainties of yesterday. And when I walk through that prison door, if someone should ask you, you tell them that I'm Ali. You tell them that I'm Cesar Chavez. And when I walk through that door, when I take a step forward, when I turn the corner and tell the world, should they ask, I am who I dream myself to be. A scientist, a doctor, a dancer, a poet. Let the whole world know that I am who I dream myself. And my heart cries louder and louder with passion. Tell them, there goes the poet. There goes the painter. Tell all the haters and the racists and the cynics, I will not let them influence how I see myself, that I am shaped by the loving hands of a dream. No one makes me as they wish anymore. Tell them, please, from the conference halls and classrooms, from every street corner, every judge, every courtroom and market where you meet, you tell them that you've seen me and you talk to me and that I am who I dream myself to be. And when I opened my eyes this morning, I surrendered to my greatness. You tell them, I knelt down and I opened my arms to embrace my full being, my potential to be who I am in this world. Leader, teacher, activist. You tell them that I no longer am the woman that walked in these gates, that I have found a way to love myself. I close my eyes, and when I open them, I know that when I walk through that door, I am Mother Teresa, Zapata, Anzaldúa, Betita, Sor Juana, Celia Cruz, Menchu, because the day is young, and I've got mountains to move. I've got mountains to move. Yeah. Move some mountains, carnal. We'll be outside. If anybody wants to talk to Jeffrey, he's here or in the lobby. Thank you all so much. Thanks for